First off, I want to apologize to Scallywag Arcade and Drawing Code for this video taking so long to come out. It is not in my nature to request keys and then sit on them. A combination of tons of things going on in my life, plus this particular game really triggering my VR motion sickness. Various things have delayed this video getting made, so I just want to apologize. I'm not making excuses, most of this is on me. So full disclosure, I received a key for this game. This is Taskmaster VR. It is available on Steam VR and currently on the Oculus Meta Quest store. I'm playing the Steam version here in Steam VR. I am using Virtual Desktop to connect to my PC because that's what works best for me normally. I say normally because I'm not sure if it's connecting via Virtual Desktop that's the problem, but something to do with the way that I'm playing the game is triggering my motion sickness really bad. So it's taken me a while to get around to completing this video. Much like the show itself, Greg Davies is the Taskmaster. He is the one that sets all the ridiculous tasks and challenges for the guests to complete, and Alex Horn is the adjudicator. Little Alex Horn is the adjudicator. He's the one that makes sure all the challenges are performed properly. So with this game, you basically assume the role of one of the show's contestants. So normally this would be a celebrity guest, but in many ways you are the celebrity guest of your own life. So you get to be a celebrity guest in Taskmaster VR, and then it is your goal to complete these tasks in order to please Greg, the Taskmaster. Each episode in the game consists of 3 tasks to complete. 2 of them take place at the Taskmaster set, just like in the television show. You've got the kitchen, you've got the garage, you've got the garden outside with the shed. If you've watched the show, then you're familiar with these areas. The last task in the show is always a studio task, and that is the same with these episodes. The 3rd task is a studio task. This takes place in the studio in front of the Taskmaster himself. So I played 2 episodes worth to get sort of an idea of how this game works, and it was about all I could stomach. I'm really not sure what's causing the motion sickness issues with this game in particular, but something is. So I completed 2 episodes, that is 6 tasks. So task number 1 that I played was set in the kitchen. I had to create a sandwich while holding spatulas. So I had to do everything with spatulas. Pick up the bread, pick up the plate that it needs to go on, pick up the bread, pick up the ingredients with spatulas. So in VR, you're kind of like trying to do this to move items onto the plate. Very challenging task. It wasn't immediately clear what I had to do. So Alex Horn will say, I fancy, and then I'm listening to him as I'm going around the kitchen. He fancies, what does he fancy? What does he fancy? Turns out there's a little thought bubble above his head that you could only see if you're looking at him, where he tells you, green plate, I want a pork chop in this, I want lettuce in this, I want cucumber in this. He doesn't say it out loud. And I think that would immediately improve that challenge no end if he went, I fancy a cucumber and lettuce sandwich. Actually, thinking about it would probably sound quite robotic. But the point is, if he said, I fancy the green plate, rather than I start making a sandwich and not realizing it has to go on a specific plate. I thought the place where you put the sandwich together and present it, I thought that was a plate. But no, you have to bring a specific plate over and then specific. Now that I know what I did wrong, I could probably get a better score on that minigame. Also, Greg Davies, you used the end of the loaf. Yeah? I'm sorry, like, maybe Greg just lives a very privileged life, okay? But where I come from, the knob end of the loaf is the best part. It has the most bread in it. It is the most bang for your buck. But I digress. I think my 0 points for that challenge was in part due to the ingredients having fallen on the floor and the sandwich using the end of the loaf. Well, I'm sorry. All right, the end of the loaf is the best part. But I digress. So I scored 0 points on that challenge. Then the next challenge, I had to escape from the garage, and it was set up like an escape room. You know, you've got clues you need to find, and those clues refer to numbers that you have to key into keypads or the solution to open a safe. You have to find your way out of that garage, and then you have to get dog food, a can of dog food, and put it in a dog food bowl. But the dog food is inside a melon. So there I am thinking, oh, dog food's inside a melon. Here's a bathtub full of melons. Ah, fuck it. Break every single melon. I feel like I'm being tricked here. That none of these have. Yeah. Hadn't occurred to me, at the start of the task, you have to break open a melon. And the melon has been, like, taped together. So it's clear that a melon that has something in it is broken in half and then stitched together. So I'm breaking all these melons, and I break every melon. There's no dog food in here. Under there, under that fucking chair. You see one? You see one under that chair? Oh shit, maybe it's somewhere in the house. So I'm running around the house into all the rooms, smashing every single melon, run into the caravan, smashing melon, run into the garden, smashing melon, and then... Hold on, wouldn't it be stitched together? You know, it occurred to me, it would have to have been one that was, you know, all stitched up. So I'm running around the house looking for a melon that's stitched together, and I find it, break it open, and there's the dog food. So it took me a very long time to complete that task. But that's the task I ended up scoring the most points for. I can't remember, I think it was like 5 points. So I scored a lot of points on that task. And then the third task, the studio task, I had to get some melon in a moving platform by throwing it from a high up place. And I managed to get quite a bit of melon in there. I didn't think I did all that well, because you're supposed to get the melon in there without knocking Skittles over, and I knocked one Skittle over. But I ended up scoring quite well on that one as well, and I finished the episode with 7 points. Thinking, oh, you know, I'm feeling a little bit motion sick, but it's probably just, you know, when I start playing VR, sometimes I feel a little bit motion sick to begin with, and then I just get used to it, and then my body is fine. Like, I can play Eragon or Medal of Honor Above and Beyond for like 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes after I initially feel queasy, and then, like, I'm fine. But again, something about this Taskmaster game triggers my motion sickness a little bit, and the thing about VR is it's impossible to specifically state what it is that is causing that. I guess I should attempt maybe turning off the NVIDIA overlay, because that can affect virtual desktops streaming, or using the Quest Link function either physically tethered to the PC or using the Airlink, because that might solve the problem. Or playing the native Quest 3 version. So after that first episode, I thought, oh, I'll be fine. Let's play a second episode. So I played the second episode. So that was another 3 tasks. The first task of episode 2 was to launch an egg as far as possible by rolling it through a tube and then having it land in a frying pan. And basically you have to build a Rube Goldberg machine to try and roll this egg as far as possible. You don't have great parts to work with, mostly like planks and stuff like that. And the physics felt very inconsistent. I felt like I did really well at the end of that. I was feeling quite sick after that task because, once again, the floor kept moving away from me when I bend down to pick something up. Right? In reality, I'm getting closer to the floor. In the VR game, I'm staying the same distance away from the floor. Now, there is a crouch button that lets you get closer to the floor, but the floor still moved away from me when I got lower. And I feel like that is definitely something that needs to be patched, because the floor shouldn't be moving away from you when you get closer to it. I think that's one of the big triggers. That was definitely one of the big triggers for me in that task for the motion sickness. Oh my god. Look at this. The ground gets further away from me. Is there a toggle for that? Because that is not how a VR game should work, alright? After my Rube Goldberg machine kept falling apart, I was like, fuck it. Bash the buzzer, that's it, that's the score I'm submitting. I thought I did pretty well. Measly 2 points. I deserve better than that, come on. Abysmal performance. I was very disappointed because I felt like I did rather well to build a machine that would, get the egg that far. And to have to land it in a frying pan. I felt like I did moderately well there, but apparently not. Task number 2, I had to recreate a painting of a donut and a cake on the opposite side of the canvas that it's on as the canvas is rotating using post-it notes. That challenge also made me feel a little bit motion sick because trying to move with the canvas as it's moving, try to focus on that. I felt like I did very well with that challenge. I definitely recreated the cake rather well. No, Greg hated it. Alex liked it. It's not Alex who scores it, it's Greg who scores it. So I only got 2 points for that challenge. So the third task in episode 2, second studio task, you have to launch fruit from a radio-controlled shopping trolley to try and launch it as close to Greg as possible. It's like a dietary intervention to get fruit into his diet. You have to literally fire it at him. And I thought I did pretty poorly on that challenge, but I ended up scoring 3 points. So I ended up scoring 7 points in total again. So for both episodes, I scored 7 points. Okay, consistent at least. I did briefly check out, there is a mode where you can download extra challenges that people have made. You can also create your own tasks and share them online. So there is some like UGC built into this, user-generated content. I can see this game appealing to the Venn diagram of Taskmaster fans and VR headset owners specifically. And that might be a bigger audience than I think you might realize, because Taskmaster ended up being hugely successful during lockdown. Another element of that was Alex Horn being on No More Jockeys, so a lot of people were probably watching No More Jockeys during the Great British Lockdown, and then ended up discovering Taskmaster, or remembering he was on Taskmaster, ended up watching a lot of Taskmaster on demand, and then, of course, lockdown, people were getting Quest 2 headsets, because that was the big thing that launched right before the world went to shit. And for people who aren't familiar with the show, it is genuinely a very good television show, and I feel like this game really does recreate the show very well. Some of the writing, some of the voiceover is a little bit stilted. It doesn't necessarily feel like the bants that you would experience on the show, but it's fairly close. It's close enough. I'm not sure if I could recommend this game to people who are not familiar with the show. The concept of each challenge is perhaps a little bit confusing without the knowledge that frames everything together. Otherwise, it might just feel like a bunch of disconnected tasks. But for people who are fans of the show, I say give the game a go. If you get it on Steam VR, you do have Steam's incredibly generous 2-hour refund policy. Because there is no demo, that would be my recommendation. I think in future, I'm going to dial back the amount of VR keys I request, because I don't want to end up in a situation where I have to make coverage of a game and being in VR is triggering a VR sickness that I didn't used to have. Once again, thank you very much, Scallywag Arcade, Draw and Code for a key. I really appreciate it. My channel is fairly small. I only have a modest following, so to have provided me a key for both the native Quest version and the Steam VR version was incredibly kind and generous. And I don't want you to think, oh, he took forever to do content, it's lazy. It was never my intention. Just so much is going on in my life right now, plus the motion sickness. Like I said, I'm not making any excuses. It's all on me, but I want to make it abundantly clear that I appreciate every opportunity that I'm given. It's never my intention to let things take this long. Taskmaster VR is a recommendation to basically that subset of VR headset owners, Taskmaster fans. To that specific audience, I say, yes, this is absolutely worth your time. Check it out. Like I said, thank you very much for the opportunity. Until next time, if we live that long.